The 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup will see the best footballers on the planet do battle. US star Alex Morgan is in ominous form after an exceptional 2022. While China will look to repeat their continental dominance on the global stage. Immerse yourself in the biggest sporting event of the year with the Contenders. The United States are a major force in women's football, and Alex Morgan has been pivotal to their success. Morgan has led the line for the US since making her international debut in 2010, becoming one of the world's best strikers, scoring at a prolific rate. With a century of goals and over 200 international appearances, her record stacks up with the very best.
I think she's done so much for the game, in just terms of promoting it by who she is and how she plays. She's been around a long time, but is still a very special player.
After being left out of Vlatko Andonovski's US squad in early 2022, Morgan was recalled for the CONCACAF W Championship, where she provided a timely reminder of her quality. Morgan won the Golden Ball as the player of the tournament, guiding the US to another piece of silverware and qualification for the 2023 World Cup.
First, I have to say I've been not surprised, but very happy how she has handled the whole situation and how she came back. And I said this early on when I came back in camp, that Alex is a better player, and that's what makes her special, that she doesn't want to stop growing, she doesn't want to stop developing.
Her performances for the San Diego Wave have been even better. Morgan took out the 2022 NWSL Golden Boot, finishing as the league's top scorer in the regular season with a career-best 15 goals in 17 games.
The top, it's Alex Morgan in on goal, and she scores! Straight over the top, Sheridan to Morgan, and Alex Morgan delivers for San Diego.
Even in the veteran stage of her career, Morgan remains at the top of her game, finishing second in the voting for the FIFA Women's Player of 2022. She was also named in the FIFA Women's World 11 for the 5th time, putting the American joint second for all-time appearances.
Here's Alex Morgan! Scores! 51 career goals for Alex Morgan. Make it lucky number 13.
Embarking on her 4th World Cup in 2023, Morgan is primed to lead the US attack once again as she eyes more history with the national team. Morgan was the joint top scorer in 2019 with partner in crime Megan Rapinoe. And while that tea-sipping goal celebration caused a stir, her 6 goals fired the US to back-to-back World Cup titles.
I think that we have been known as America's favorite soccer team. But from here on out, we'll just be known as America's team.
Morgan requires another 6 goals down under to overtake the great Abby Wambach at the top of the USA's all-time leading scorers list at World Cups.
For us to be here, I hope that it continues to create buzz and excitement for the World Cup and for women's football. And I think that we are doing that, but we're here for one thing, and that's to get preparation in for the World Cup.
A proven big game performer, Morgan's presence up front for the defending champions looms large. Up next, China will look to avoid a Women's World Cup first in 2023. Despite never winning a Women's World Cup, China have not once been eliminated at the group stage. A model of consistency at major tournaments, China have made the knockout phase at each of their 7 World Cup appearances. They achieved a best-ever finish at the 1999 World Cup, losing an iconic final on penalties to the United States in front of over 90,000 spectators. A superpower of the women's game throughout the 1980s and 1990s, China earned the nickname the Steel Roses for their fearless performances on the pitch. Their second-place finish in '99 was followed by 3 quarter-final exits before a round of 16 elimination in 2019, their lowest finish at a Women's World Cup. While China's wait to win football's ultimate prize goes on, their supremacy in Asia is unmatched. The Steel Roses won a record-extending 9th Asian Cup in 2022, overcoming a 2-goal deficit to defeat South Korea 3-2 in the final.
If we can get the title, I think it is going to be a great start for women's football in China. We can become role models back in the country. As a new team under a new coach, it would be great recognition, inspiration, and encouragement for us.
Making the semi-finals booked China's spot at the 2023 World Cup, and they'll be eyeing another berth in the round of 16. But it won't be an easy task, with European champions England and Euro 2017 finalists Denmark set to provide stern tests in Group D. China's opening match against the Danes on July 22nd in Perth looms as a must-win game if they are to advance to the second round. If we lose this match, then our chances of progressing are practically over, Coach Shui Qingxia conceded. If China are to continue their streak of getting past the group phase, star striker Wang Shuang must fire on all cylinders. Shuang top scored for China with 5 goals at the Asian Cup, along with captain and player of the tournament, Wang Shanshan.
We don't represent any previous generations of Chinese women's football. We only represent ourselves, a young generation. Every player and the coaching staff are confident that we can earn our own glory at the World Cup.
Entering the World Cup as reigning Asian champions, can China replicate their local dominance on the global stage? Could we see the Women's World Cup held every 2 years?
Thanks very much.
That's one of the topics under discussion at FIFA amid a far-reaching review of the women's footballing calendar. The review, led by former US women's coach Jill Ellis, will explore how to optimize the calendar to further the game's growth and popularity. Ellis, who guided the US to World Cup titles in 2015 and 2019, was appointed by FIFA to lead a technical advisory group on the future of women's football.
I certainly appreciate, the idea of the traditionalism of the World Cup is every 4 years. But, my charge is with this group is to look at the overarching calendar and look at ways to grow our World Cup. And, it's making sure that World Cup is still incredibly special but also appreciating that it has been and is a conduit to growth in our sport. So how do we balance that? How do we look at that? That's going to be part of the conversation and the discussion.
The objective of the Ellis-led review is creating global access and more opportunities in the sport by putting the players at the heart of the discussions.
Ultimately, the two challenges will be the calendar and how do we make the player, the most important element of that. And then also how do we, again, grow an opportunity for some player that's never experienced something as special as a World Cup. I think that's going to be our task.
FIFA will seek feedback on the football calendar by engaging with various key stakeholders.
The group will comprise of, leaders within their different areas. So we're going to be looking at everything from the technical side, from the view of the coach, and not just the current coaches, but former coaches. We're going to look at the view from the player's perspective, referees, sports scientists, administration, and certainly even the fans.
Like the men's tournament, the Women's World Cup is traditionally staged every 4 years. But the idea of a global showpiece held every 2 years has been floated by FIFA President Gianni Infantino, citing the increased revenue biennial World Cups would generate.
A second World Cup would generate 4.4 billion more. You heard it. We would set up a 3.5 billion solidarity fund for member associations in a 4-year cycle.
However, the thought of a 2-year World Cup cycle has been met with mixed responses.
The problem is that the World Cup has to be every 4 years to be interesting. Second, if it would be every 2 years, it would cannibalize women's football because it would be at the same year as women's football. Other sports, Olympic Games, many mistakes. It's simply a bad idea. And it will not happen because it's a bad idea, not because we are opposing it.
I see the pros and cons in both. Just with the history of the World Cup, I think it's really difficult to grasp the concept of changing from every 4 years to 2 years because historically it's just what we've done and what we're used to. But I also look at the growth of the women's game and how it can really benefit, domestic or club leagues around the world.
Nothing has been agreed for the women's footballing calendar beyond 2023, when Australia and New Zealand co-host the 9th edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup. Coming up, we look back at the rule that changed women's football forever. In 1921, a rule was passed that destroyed women's football in England. The Football Association placed a ban that prohibited females from training or playing matches on the grounds of FA-affiliated clubs. The ban stood for 50 years, as England's governing body deemed football was quite unsuitable for women. But when the FA finally lifted the ban in 1971, international women's fixtures began to be played. The first official international women's football match to be played in Great Britain was between England and Scotland in 1972. And 2022 marked the 50-year anniversary of that historic game.
It's been an absolute honour, to be quite honest, yeah. I know I've given the FA a little bit of stick in the past for not recognising us, but thanks to that wonderful win with the European Cup, We've all been recognised, and I have to say they're pulling all the stops out for us, and I think that's absolutely wonderful.
They were the pioneers that blazed a trail for the current-day Lionesses, who won the nation's first major women's trophy at Euro 2022.
To see them now selling out, yeah, you could have done this 25, 30 years ago, but yeah, we're there now, that's the main thing. And yeah, thank you for sorting this out for us, because it's a wonderful experience.
It's something that the FA have pushed a lot, and it's something that we're grateful for, and meeting the players that paved the way for us. And, you know, without them, we wouldn't be here today, we wouldn't be thriving and playing in front of these crowds and, you know, playing at top stadiums. So, you know, forever grateful for them, and it was great to meet them.
In many other countries around the world, women's football has faced similar treatment, denied the opportunity to play the sport they loved. Women's football tournaments were non-existent until 1970, when the first unofficial World Cup competition was staged in Italy. Organized by an independent governing body, the groundbreaking competition grew in popularity the following year. The 1971 event attracted enormous crowds, with 110,000 people cramming into the Estadio Azteca for the final between Mexico and Denmark. 20 years later, the inaugural Women's World Cup took place, when 12 nations converged in China to contest the first FIFA-sanctioned international female tournament. The World Cup has since grown to 32 teams and attracts a global audience of over 1 billion, becoming the world's biggest women's sporting event.
When you're the captain of your country, it's a huge honour, because you look out into the fans and you think, I'm standing here before you, leading you guys as well on this journey, on what we want to achieve. We want to make you proud. And as a captain, you're responsible to lead that culture and really make sure that the girls are, well, you don't have to because they're so professional, but you want to build that culture of, hey, it's not just us out there on the field, it's everybody in the stands at home watching, and the legacy that we leave behind when we leave the field. I can remember when I was first appointed captain, you know, earlier I had been told, like, there's nothing you can do to become captain. Because I asked, you know, what do I need to do to become a captain? And my coach said, you can't do anything. You're either it or you're not. You can't start doing something that you haven't done. So, you know, it was put to a vote, and my teammates chose me, and coach also chose me. But the fact that when he spoke to me and he acknowledged that I'd become captain, the first thing I wanted to think was, my dad will be so proud. You know, the fact that, you know, I had to push my way into the game. I had to fight for everything I ever achieved because I was female in a male-dominated sport. I didn't change. It was the only thing I think I changed once I become captain was I no longer thought of myself only. You know, I'm a very empathetic person. I do take care of my teammates a lot of the times, but then I had to start thinking, you know, what are the girls doing on social media? I would have to send really, you know, stern warnings about, you know, how they were behaving and how they were portraying themselves and our brand before it was policed, before, you know, you started to turn up on the news. Like, I'm sure if they did anything now, it'd be splashed all over the front page. But now, you know, I had to start being the stern leader. I think the hardest thing about being a captain for an international football team is probably a lot of the other responsibilities. It's no longer you on the park and doing your job anymore. It's really about, you know, encompassing the whole squad and making sure everything's flowing nicely on and off the park. Captaincy duties in terms of increased responsibilities are media duties, so, you know, speaking to press conferences, you know, win, loss, draw, you have to put a face on. In terms of when we won the Asia Cup, I came back home, I wanted to do more media, so I was putting, you know, the feelers out and I was asking and requesting more. So doing, you know, Hey, it's Saturday and all these, you know, game shows and things that could put our name out there more. So appearances and corporate events, dressing up, doing all the right things. And then in terms of, you know, day-to-day things, making sure the girls are wearing the right gear, wrong shoes, wrong shirt, making it to dinner on time, just all those expectations that we have that we're pretty good at because we're professionals. You just got to keep on everybody's toes, really. Well, I feel like captaining my country to a major title, it hadn't been done yet. So our whole country hadn't had a trophy in the cabinet, male or female. So it was an important moment. And looking back on, I don't even think I realised at the time that how much of a big deal it was. I just thought, you know, we'd already did the hard yards beating Japan in the semi-final. This is just a bonus. You know, and we played it down almost. Didn't matter if we won or not. But when we had that trophy in our hands, it was huge achievement. And it was the start of a lot of players' careers.
Still to come, how Haiti qualified for their first ever Women's World Cup. Haiti will play at their first ever Women's World Cup, securing one of the final 3 remaining qualifying spots for the 2023 showpiece. Ranked 55th in the world at the time, Haiti defeated Chile 2-1 in a thrilling playoff match in February, their maiden win over a South American opponent. Teenage sensation Melchi de Mornay was the star of the show for the Caribbean side, scoring stoppage time goals in each half to break Chilean hearts.
It was a pretty incredible match, and it was also difficult. Some strong and intense moments during the game, and some that weren't intense at all. We knew we had to stay compact, playing together to be stronger. We also knew that we have very fast and highly skilled players who could make a difference. We also knew that we had to play in our rivals' area to make the difference. I am really happy because I scored 2 goals.
Haiti's reward for their historic win, a spot in Group D, alongside European champions England, Asian champions China, and Denmark.
I won't stop saying it. I am so happy to have qualified for this World Cup. We made history. We are very happy. We know that this qualification means a lot to the Haitian people. We are very happy to be in the World Cup.
De Mornay is attracting the attention of the women's football world, with French powerhouse Lyon swooping to sign the attacker on a 3-year deal. She will look to turn more heads at the 2023 finals in Australia and New Zealand. One of 8 nations competing at their maiden Women's World Cup, Haiti's presence on the game's biggest stage will bring unbridled joy to fans back home.